Good morning, everyone. My name is Lane, and this is my very first video. To give a rundown, I'm going to explain basically how I kind of came to where I am today, and why I'm making this YouTube channel in the first place, and why this has become kind of a passion on me and my heart, and really how my faith has taken me to where I am today. This all started, I guess, when I was just a young child. I remember from an early age, my mom kind of always taking me to church. We went to a really nice Protestant church here locally in Arizona. I remember going to the standard Sunday school, classroom. We would color with crayons, and we had a Sunday school teacher, and mom would be at service doing her thing, and that was just kind of like our routine. And I remember at about age 7 or 8, like, it all changed. All of a sudden we started attending this Catholic church with my grandparents, and I discovered that, like, my mom had found the beauty of the Catholic Church, and she wanted to start going to church with her family again. And so that's how we kind of found ourselves in the Catholic Church. My mom obviously went through and obtained all of her sacraments and became in full unity with the church. And I too, at the right age, got put through my catechism classes, so that I too could start taking those steps with the church. During all of this, I have to say, like, I really wasn't interested in any of it at all. My father and mother were separated, and my dad had no interest in the church, no interest in the faith. Wasn't just doubtful of it, but at times was mocking of the faith, was a laughing stock, that we were smarter. And this had a profound effect on me at a young age, to the point where my mom was just fighting and fighting and fighting to get me to come into union with Christ and to learn the beauty of the faith, and I just couldn't do it. So I start going through my catechism classes, and I'm doing it because my mom wants me to be there. I start getting in trouble a little bit here and there, but I end up doing all of it, and taking my first communion and being confirmed into the church, and really taking that step into being in unity with Christ, but never wanting to be there at all. Couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand being there on Sunday mornings, going to Mass. And as soon as I became old enough to kind of pull away, I did. I stopped going. I stopped attending. I stopped caring. Avoided it. I became antagonistic of the faith. When I was about 17 years old, no, I was 18. My brother had been born. My little brother had just been born. Yeah, big age gap. And my mother had asked me to be his godfather. And I remember going to those appointments, and once again, like, willingly doing this for my mom, but hating being there. I remember listening to songs that criticized and mocked the church for how dirty and corrupt they were, but thinking they were so holy, and just having that idea in my head. And it really came to the point where I was like, I think there's a God. I think there's something out there, but this ain't it. This ain't right. You people are all crazy. I joined the Army. During this point in time, I became very detached from Christ even more. I remember in basic training, it's very, very strange, but in basic training, they give you a Bible if you want one. And I did. I wanted something to read, because you don't have much to do when you're given that Sunday free time. They give you that opportunity to go to church. And so I asked for a Bible. I didn't attend church very often in basic, but I remember wanting the Bible so that I had something to do other than missing home. And it was entertaining here and there a little bit, but I remember just reading that passage and just laughing at it. And again, becoming detached. I couldn't even tell you where I was reading out of, but I was just detached. And at the time, I began dating my now wife, and she was very strong in her faith. At this point, it was the center of her life, and that became difficult for me and her. So I'm in the Army now, and still detached from my faith, and me and my relationship with my wife are now progressing. I've proposed to her, we're engaged, we're getting ready to get married, and once again, I find myself in this position where we're getting ready to get married, and she wants a pastor from the church that she attended to ordain the wedding, and obviously her faith in Christ was just a big center point in her life. It was super important to her. It was something that we had already fought over several times, and really the only in-depth conversation that we ever had truly regarding my faith ended up in me blowing up. It was horrific conversation. And so it was one of those where, she told me, like, this is my faith. This is the most important thing to me, more so than you. If you wish to be a part of my life, you have to be accepting of that. That this is my faith and it's the most important thing. And I respected that for her. So when I got out of the Army, I came home and once again was in that cycle of like doing the faith journey for someone else, not for myself, and being in a state of denial and mockery. So I would attend church every Sunday morning at a Protestant church here in Phoenix with my wife, so that she wasn't going alone or going just with her family, but that I was there with her so I could show her that kind of support the best that I could. And during this time, me coming home and just learning to do and live life with her for the first time, it was awful. We fought constantly. I was so selfish at that time. I had come from a place where I had only lived with myself. I was used to being in the Army. I was used to that lifestyle, partying and drinking and getting drunk and hanging out with friends all the time. And now all of a sudden I was in this marriage, and I wasn't in the Army anymore. And I'm living with this other person that I didn't know as well as I thought I did, and who's so rooted in her faith, and I just want to live by the world. And our relationship was just in a spiral. We finally got to the point where we had gone to a counselor, and we were about to go on this family vacation. So we were at our last session before family vacation. And I remember this counselor just looking at the two of us after we had been doing months of counseling and basically just saying like, hey, we've done it all. I think you guys need to get ready and prepare for what's coming next, which will be divorce. And I drove home that night because I had moved out. So I was driving home back to my grandfather's house, just sobbing and weeping in the car. Couldn't even believe where my life had gone. I ended up telling my wife and her family, like, I'm not going on this family vacation with you guys anymore. I can't do it. We're not in a good place. So I opted out of going on this vacation, and I was sobbing in my grandfather's living room. I was working a job I hated, which was for my father-in-law. Lost in life. I wanted everything of the world, but couldn't find any satisfaction in any of it. And at this point in time, my father-in-law reaches out to me after hearing that I wasn't going on the vacation anymore. And in one of the most genuine shows of love that I have seen in my life, just reaffirmed his love for me and the family's love for me, even with everything that was going on between me and his daughter. Just told me that they loved me and that they missed me, and that they thought that me going on that vacation would be very good for my relationship with Sierra, my wife. And that getting away from home and just having that time to just relax and breathe and be with her could really do some good for our relationship. And I just remember being so appalled at the love and restraint that he had for me, who was in this state of just antagonism with his daughter. I remember thinking to myself, like, man, if I had been in his shoes and someone was as rude and selfish to my daughter as I was to his, I'd hate that kid. I'd tell that kid to get gone. What an idiot. What a fool. How dare you do that to my daughter? And instead of getting this ridicule or this harshness, it was just this love. And it was one of the first times I think I can genuinely say that I saw a Christ follower living out what Christ had talked about in the Bible. Just loving someone. Loving someone when you didn't have to, and you shouldn't have to, but he did. Ultimately, this convinced me to go on this family vacation. My wife was already out there, and so I flew out and met her out there with the family. The vacation was cut short because of COVID, so we ended up only getting a couple days together on this vacation, but it was beautiful, it was special, it was wonderful. It was almost as if everything that had been going on at home wasn't there anymore. And I remember coming home from that vacation and just looking at God and saying, like, all right, big guy, like, if you're gonna do it, do it. If you're gonna save this, save it. Whatever that may be, whatever path that might kind of put me through. Like, I love this woman. I don't want to be divorced. I love her and I want to be a part of that. So if you're going to make it happen, make it happen. And wherever you pull me because of that, I will go. Take me down the path. So I once again started attending church with her. I moved back into our home. And for the first time when attending church with her, I started listening for myself, not for her, not for anyone else, just hearing the words. I had a Bible that she had purchased me before we got married, and really kind of started going into it for the first time. I was very infant in my faith, very young in my faith. Was beginning to understand a lot of the intellectuals behind it, but was not living it out very well. I was proud. I was beginning to become proud of, like, I don't know, proclaiming it. Like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. I love the faith, but I was not living it good. I still lived in anger and frustration and hate, and didn't speak well of people, didn't speak well to people. Still fought with my wife pretty bad, but she's a good wife. And she was willing to see, like, hey, God's taking us on this path. Like, I'm going to be patient with him. And so we went years at this rate of me just trying to grow and become a better man. I would still get blackout drunk, and I enjoyed partying, and all this time I'm taking in the intellectuals of the faith, and I'm enjoying the way that it is challenging me mentally, but I'm not changing my life. I'm still engrossed in these different things that are not what men of Christ do. I'm becoming blacked out drunk, and I'm craving partying, and now I'm just wanting to do it at family events, and I'm looking for coping methods, and I'm angry all the time, and I'm snapping at my wife, and I'm not a pleasurable person to be around, and I'm not happy. I'm still not happy. And that's when we kind of stepped into the faith a little bit more. I said, all right, well, I see the intellectuals of this. I see the theology. I see what they're saying. They're saying to stop doing these things. And so I got to a point where I was like, okay, well, I'm going to commit. I'm going to go in on this to see if I can find that happiness. I'm going to become obedient in order to find my faith. And it worked pretty well, I'm going to be honest. At this point in time, we found this little Southern Baptist church, and we became really ingrained in this church. It was small, maybe 150 people total on Sunday mornings, but it was welcoming. It was a family, beautiful place. It's an incredible church. I still love this church to this day. We don't attend there anymore, but beautiful people, beautiful place that proclaims the Word of God. They love their Bibles at this church. And it was through my time at this church that I really began to obsess and commit to the obediences of the faith and learning the theologies of the faith and understanding these biblical concepts and how do I live out what that book is telling me to do. And I found myself in a place where, hey, I'm pretty good at this. I can put the uniform on and I can look the part and I can act the part and I can do it really well, to the point where I got brought on to staff. Formulated a really good relationship with the lead pastor and the associate pastor, and was kind of brought in by them to kind of be under them. My title was the discipleship coordinator. So my goal as the discipleship coordinator was to really help people get plugged in with the church and start living out their faith, which, looking back on it now, is pretty amusing. So got plugged in there and really started walking down that path of like, hey, I think I want to be a pastor. I am finding joy in this. I'm finding happiness in this. I'm around these other godly men, and I'm seeing them and the life that they live as pastors. And I'm like, I think that would be a good place for me to be. I don't want to be angry anymore. I want to be a man of God. I want to be a man that the Bible talks about. I want to be a Bible-loving, Bible-thumping Southern Baptist man. And started along that journey of just learning how to be that person. And going through that journey, while I had the discipline and the obedience to carry it out, I was still living a lie in my heart. I think that in our faith, it's important to know that there is a difference between feelings, right? But also being willing to acknowledge authenticity. And I was at a place where I was telling myself that your feelings are fake, be obedient, be disciplined, the authenticity will come through. And it never was. I was still fighting these demons and internally this lack of joy, right? And there is, I want to be very clear, it's important to know that a lack of happiness in your life is not the same as a lack of joy, okay? As Christians, we are going to go through just horrendous periods of time where you're not happy, right? Long stretches of time where you're not happy. You're not happy in your life. You're not happy doing things, but you've got to do them, and that's where Christ has put you to be, to do and enact. But you can still have a joy in knowing your Father, a joy in having a relationship with our Creator because of the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. And I didn't have it at all. And so I started doing this program where it was like, it was called Paul and Timothy. It was very, very unique, very cool, where the Paul would disciple the Timothy in order to create a new Paul. Very cool program that the church was enacting. And it really started to make me realize, like, oh man, I'm just missing a lot of things. And so I just kind of kept chugging on and ended up reading this book. The associate pastor at that church, really just good friend of mine, Pastor Noah, he ended up gifting me this book that I think ultimately like changed a lot of things in my life. And it was The Cost of Discipleship by Dietrich Bonhoeffer. If you have never read that book, you should go and get it right now. Whatever you're doing, stop the video, go and buy this book and read it. And it will change the foundation of your faith. And through that, I really started to realize the things that were missing in my life. And I really wanted to figure out like why I was missing those things, why my faith was lacking a joy that I knew I was supposed to have. We came around, it was early December 2025, and I was at work, and I remember driving through town and seeing a local parish. very large, beautiful parish that we have here. There's a school attached to it. It's called St. Augustine, or no, St. Thomas Aquinas. That's what it is. I remember driving past it and just feeling like this ripping sensation that I needed to go in there, just to go and look. So I stopped in and I walk in through what I thought was the front door of this parish, and it wasn't. It was the side door into Mass. I did not know that they were holding Mass. I didn't know 8 a.m. weekday Mass was a thing, and it was happening. It was right here, it was right now. And I had walked in with such authority that people turned around in their seat and looked at me like, and when I realized that, like, oh, they're doing Mass right now, it was too late for me to turn and run, because everyone had just turned and looked at me. And it's a very large parish, right? So it was only like that section of the church. And so when I realized that, I was like, oh man, it's too late. I have to go sit now. Like, these people have made eye contact with me. I've got to go sit. And so I walk myself around the hall, and I find the farthest seat in the back, and I kind of plop myself. And I was like, well, when they start to do communion, everyone's kind of standing up anyway. So when they start doing communion, I'm going to bail out of here, and it won't be noticeable, and I can, tuck my tail and run. And so I'm sitting through, and they're going through, and they start to begin the Eucharist. And through my youth, there is a portion, for those of you that are not familiar with Catholic Mass, where you stand up and you say the Our Father with the congregation. You all say it together, all at once. And so I stood up with them, and some forms of Mass, you sing it. You sing the Our Father together, and it's beautiful. And it becomes so ingrained that it was muscle memory for me. And I sang it with them, the Our Father. It was something that I had not done in 15 plus years at this point, probably. But it was muscle memory. I still knew it. I still knew the tones and inflections, and I sang the Our Father with them that morning. And they started distribution of Holy Communion, and I still tucked tail and ran and got out of there. And I was just shocked at what I was feeling, shocked at what I saw. Could not believe what had just happened, this experience that I had. And I remember walking back to the truck and looking at my phone, and my wife was texting me. And we have like location sharing app that we use with each other for safety and just for better communication with each other. Sort of almost like an accountability thing for me, because early on, I really struggled being authentic and transparent with my wife. It's just a really big struggle for me, being transparent with anyone. And that's an issue if you're married. If you are married and you have transparency issues with your spouse, start looking for ways to fix that immediately. It will change a lot of things in your life. And so we have this app that shares both of our locations with each other and just lets us know where we are. And she's texting me, and she's just asking, like, hey, what are you doing? It sent me a notification that you're at this Catholic church. Like, what are you doing, dude? How weird. And I kind of told her, I was like, hey, just being authentic with you. I was driving to the tire shop to get the work truck fixed, and I felt this like immediate tug of like, hey, you need to be here right now. So I went, and so I explained this to her, and she was like, all right, well, I mean, hey, you're being transparent with me. I'm not gonna criticize or judge or anything like that. Just, I think it's weird. I think it's weird what you're doing. But if you're being authentic with me, if you're being truthful with me, that's what I care about most, because that was probably the biggest struggle in our relationship, has always been me being honest with her about what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what's going on with me. And I think really for one of the first times in our marriage, felt ashamed in something, but was authentic with her. And I know that sounds weird, right? And so I'll explain that shame that I was feeling was because I was feeling like I was, I don't know, like becoming a traitor. I knew that I was a member of a Southern Baptist church, and I'm like being shepherded by these two pastors, and I want to become a pastor, and I belong to the staff of this church. And I knew that there was like this dialogue between Southern Baptists and Catholics, and it was, Southern Baptists, they can't stand anything that the Catholic Church stands for. And I didn't really know why. I didn't really look into it in that time, but so I felt like I was like being a traitor to my faith, I guess, at that point. I was being a traitor to the people that were important in my lives. And so I felt this like realistic, like shame, like a bad dog, But in that feeling, I was authentic and I was truthful with my wife for one of the first times in our marriage about a shame that I had. And it felt great. Oh man, it felt wonderful to just look at my wife and be like, yeah, like this is what is going on. And I'm not proud of it right now, but I'm being honest with you about it and honest with God. And so this kind of process repeated for quite a few times. I really started to learn and dive into a lot of like the foundations of the Catholic faith. For those of you that are watching that are not Catholic and don't really understand the Catholic faith, like I challenge you, even if you don't want to become Catholic, get to know and understand them better. There are so many traditions of just the Christian faith that are found and rooted in Catholicism that I was starting to discover myself. The Church Fathers. Matter of fact, I got a book. It's called the Apostolic Fathers, and it's just a collection of early writings of the early Church Fathers, and it's very profound, right? And so I started to learn these different things and prayers, and I started learning about like the rosary and all these different things. And during this journey, I was attending weekday mass at 8 a.m. to just learn more and kind of figure out what was going on. And my wife was just like, what is going on with you? Like, I don't understand. You were this Bible thumping man. Like, this is the man that I have come to know, and this is the man that I was raising my children with. And all of a sudden you're making not a hard left, you have made a 180, and I'm freaked out. And so she calls our lead pastor, who is just a really good friend of mine, and says, like, I am worried about my husband. I am worried about things that are going on. He is starting to bite into some of these beliefs that the Catholic Church believes in, and I'm concerned. I don't know what's happening. And it was such a beautiful thing for me to see that my wife was concerned, but there were also people in my life that she could reach out to. And so he did, just as he came to me as a pastor first and just said, hey, we're going to have dinner as a family, you, Sierra, me and my wife, and we're going to figure out what's going on, because I didn't know any of this was happening with you. And let me be honest, if any of you are feeling similar to what I was going through, looking back on all of it, like, be honest and transparent. I wish in that aspect I had been more honest and transparent with the men in my life about what was going on, even if they weren't agreeing with the things that I was doing. It took me a while to become transparent with them, and I'm sure there's some sort of psychological profile you could build on why I have trust issues with people, but so he was blindsided by that, and so he wanted to figure out what was going on, because he cared for me, loved for me. And so he did, and we had dinner, and I just explained, like, hey, these are some of the things that I'm concerned about. Like, I'm concerned about sola scriptura. Like, I'm figuring out where the Bible did come from, and It's not matching up with the things that I thought. And I'm learning some truths that are just historical facts that are proven. They're truths. You can't dispute them without being a liar. And I'm bringing these things up because I'm like, hey, I'm discovering these things, and these are real. You have to acknowledge them. It's ridiculous if you don't. You are a lunatic. And they're like, well, yeah, but there's this dispute and this dispute, but what you're saying is true. And so we left that dinner with really no change other than the fact that I had come clean on my my dirty Catholic tendencies. And so time went on, and I was starting to go through pastoral training at this church so that I could become a pastor. And during this time, I had been speaking on stage and speaking from the pulpit and leading prayer times and kind of becoming forward-facing in the church that I was going to, and was looking to shepherd people and disciple people, and really trying to, at this point, live two completely different lives. And I remember having a second sit down with the pastors of that church, the two men that were shepherding me, and really just having that conversation of like, hey, the road that you're walking down, you can't live these two lives for long, and you're gonna have to choose one of them. You're gonna have to make a decision, which life that you want to live. And I became defensive and was like, no, like I'm still just looking into things. Like, I'm not making any decision. Unbeknownst to me, I had made a decision at that point, and what was really holding me back was change and the fear of betraying the people that I held close in my life. I don't know if any of you can relate to that out there, but I came to a point in my faith where I knew God said, this is your path. This is the path that I am giving you to walk. And it came at a cost. And I thought that cost was people that I cared about, that were central to my life. And ultimately, I came to them and said, I'm understanding it now. I have the joy that the Bible talks about, the love that the Bible talks about, all those things, I've discovered it through the Catholic Church. I found it. Those things that I was yearning for and looking for and couldn't find, and this double life and this uniform that I was putting on, like, I found the truth. And so I stepped down from my position as the discipleship coordinator at the church. I removed myself from the pastoral program. And I finally made the commitment and said, like, I'm going to become a Catholic. I'm going to revert to my faith. I'm going to become in right union with the church. And I'm going to go back. That's where I need to be. That's where God's calling me to be. And as I'm making this video right now, it just kind of makes me chuckle, thinking like when I told God, hey, big guy, I'll go where you want me to go. It's just now coming clear to me right now that was just another step in that process for us. And so this YouTube channel, the intent of all of it, after explaining my story, is to be a place where I can explain to you the more in-depth details of that summary story that I just gave you. Because in that process, right, every single day I became relentless about learning the doctrines of the Catholic faith and understanding it better, and learning what that meant for Christianity as a whole, and really discovering truth and fullness intellectually through the faith, and then discovering my actual faith through that. And so this YouTube channel is intended to help people. What this is not a place to bash one another. This is not a place to criticize one another. This is a place where I was a proud Southern Baptist who found a fullness in my faith through the Catholic Church. And I want to share those discoveries with people who may be in a similar situation to me. When I was describing what was going on to my wife, I found myself in tears saying that I hope no one ever has to experience what I had to experience, of the loneliness and the fakeness of putting a uniform on to fit the part and not actually knowing and discovering that love of Christ and that love of God for me. And so I hope that this YouTube channel will be that opportunity to help someone find that through the Catholic Church. I attend Catholic Church every Sunday now. I'm a committed and fully devout Catholic, and I want to share the intellectuals and some of the apologetics of the Catholic faith to those that already call themselves a Christian. For those that are a Protestant and they want to understand their Catholic brethren better, to the Protestant that is looking for a fullness in the faith, to a Catholic that doesn't understand their faith very well. I want to share resources that I use. I want to share books. I want to share other podcasts and great people that have had a tremendous impact on my faith. Some that come straight to mind are the Scott Hahns and the Trent Horns and the Matt Frads and the Pints with Aquinas and the Road to Emmaus and the St. Paul Centers, and all these beautiful and wonderful tools of the faith that God has worked through to help people like me to discover their faith. And I just really hope that that I can help and be one of those tools, even for just one person, so that they may get to know their Father better, so that they can find that love, so they can find that commitment to their faith. And I just hope that the experience that God has put me through and the tools and resources that He has provided to me, that I too can become that tool and that resource for someone else to really hunker down and find God, because that's what's most important to me, is that the people that I care about and my brothers and sisters, and that everyone across the world can have a better opportunity to really find that relationship with their Creator and find their way to heaven. So I want to thank all of you that will take the time to listen to this video and hear me speak and listen to the few words that I do have. And I just want to thank God for this beautiful and marvelous opportunity to have access to technology and just have a story to share, to have a relationship with Him that I have that's worth sharing, you know. So thank you guys for listening, and I hope to have many conversations with many of you in the future.